Am I the a-hole for refusing to do anything around the house because my wife insisted on staying home with our child? I, 28 male, have been with my wife, 27 female, for 4 years, married for 1. I'm an electrician and she's an accountant. I make about $60,000 a year and she makes about $50,000. 7 months ago, we had our first child. My wife was supposed to go back to work 2 months ago. She took the maximum maternity leave her company allows, which is 6 months, starting 1 month before labor. When it was time to resume work, my wife told me she would feel guilt and sadness if we put our child in daycare, and that she wanted to stay home with him. I suggested therapy, but she was very persistent and said nothing a therapist could say would change her feelings. At this point, it seemed like I had no choice, so I started calculating how much I would need to work to compensate for income. I usually work 45 hours a week, 9 times 5, but without her income, it would need to be at least 65 to 70 hours a week, meaning 10 hours a day, every single day. I told my wife how grueling this would be, and she tried to convince me by saying that I must sacrifice for our child, and that she would handle all the child care and housework, so I wouldn't have to do anything at home. Even without housework, it still seemed extreme, but I reluctantly agreed because I felt like I had no choice. So it happened. My wife resigned from her job. Her company policy states that if you don't come back, you get replaced, and I picked up the extra hours. My day starts with going to the gym at 5 a.m. It's the only thing keeping me sane, and then I worked from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Getting home at 5:30 p.m., absolutely spent. I just want to take a shower and rest. During the first month or so, my wife kept her word and took care of all the housework. But then she started expecting me to help her around the house. I would remind her of our agreement, and she would look annoyed but move on and do it herself. 2 days ago, she told me she was tired and wanted me to make dinner. I flat out refused and reminded her that she was breaking her promise. I made it very clear that she shouldn't expect anything from me when it comes to housework. She looked furious, but got up and made dinner. Since then, she has been giving me the silent treatment. I'm full of anger and resentment right now. First, she got me taking on 25 more hours a week, and now she's breaking her promise and trying to manipulate me with a silent treatment. I'm losing my mind. Now for the top comments. Your wife F around and found out. A decision to quit is not one she gets to make without 100% agreement from you. She decided to do it anyway and laid out the terms of the agreement. You are keeping up your part of the bargain by working 65 to 70 hours a week. If she wants something more balanced, she needs to go back to work, not the a-hole. Agreed. Typically, I'd be on board with supporting the household load even with a stay-at-home mom. But what OP has to sacrifice? Sleep, work exhaustion, time away from his baby and home, and any downtime whatsoever has made this an extremely selfish choice by his wife. She thought she wanted a TikTok fantasy that doesn't actually exist, and she made OP's life hell to get it. I wouldn't lift a finger either, and this is coming from a mom. Exactly. I usually say the stay-at-home mom's workday should have an end of the day too, but in this case, cooking and cleaning fall under her responsibilities, especially since she forced this arrangement. Just make sure you're still an equal parent. Parenting remains a two-person job. It sounds like she underestimated how much work goes into being a stay-at-home mom, as well as how exhausting it would be for you to cover the lost income. You both need to sit down and clear the air, or the resentment building between you will tank your relationship. I'd suggest you look into work-from-home opportunities or part-time work to help financially, so that you can cut back some hours and help at home, not the a-hole. You need to talk to your wife. You're both building up resentment, and it will destroy your marriage at this rate. You two need to revisit the deal. If she can't handle the current arrangement, then you need to discuss her going back to work. Maybe she could find something part-time, working 2 to 3 days a week, so the baby doesn't have to go to daycare every day. You don't have to work 70 hours a week, and she doesn't have to do 100% of the housework. So not the a-hole for sticking to the original agreement. But if you don't sit down and have the hard conversation, you will be the a-hole for that. This part. It doesn't matter who is the a-hole at this point. Once they're divorced, they'll both be working in housekeeping full-time. Lol. Time for a conversation. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mother-in-law to handle her son because I'm done with him? My husband has caused many problems for me and our family, and I finally found the courage to get up and do something about it. Apparently, I'm being treated badly because I decided enough was enough. My husband has a serious gambling problem, just like his father did, and has followed in his footsteps. It has been ruining our finances. Many nights he would come home late. After his father passed away, I realized his gambling was getting worse. He would miss dinner, come home drunk, which scared the kids, and barely spend any time with them. I talked to him about his problem and told him he needed to get help because it was ruining our lives. Of course, arguments sparked because he didn't think what he was doing was wrong. He would tell me that I was the problem, but I knew I wasn't. I was just trying to help. It was affecting our kids and I couldn't stand it. The best thing I could do was leave. I'm staying with my mom for the time being. He would bet on games, losing or winning money, but it was destroying our stability. I told my mother-in-law that she should at least try to help him get on the right path because he wouldn't listen to me. She told me I needed to suck it up and fix it myself. I was shocked because I didn't expect that response. It was rude, considering I was actually struggling to find him help. I was stupid to think I could rely on her. Maybe that's why his family is upset with me. The only reason I told his mom was because she had said, if he's going through something, call me. Now I'm being shamed for doing exactly that. Some of my husband's family thinks I'm the a-hole because I'm thinking about divorce. Financially, I'm struggling, and I don't want my kids to see their dad coming home drunk and angry. I called my mother-in-law again and told her she needs to handle her son because I'm done. Am I the a-hole? The fact that you've let it go on for this long is what's concerning to me. You've been shown for countless years that help is not coming, and you stay trying to make it work for reasons I do not understand. I understand. It took this long because I had just given birth to our son and was going through postpartum with no help. It hasn't been years. It started in November. I've realized what's happening, and now I'm getting out while I have the strength. I don't usually advocate for divorce, but if your husband has no interest in helping himself, removing yourself and your kids from the situation is your best bet. Exactly. He is actively harming the well-being of your family and has no intention of stopping. Your mother-in-law allowed her husband's behavior to influence her son to the point of following in his father's footsteps. Save your kids, what's left of your finances, and yourself, and get the heck away from him. Contact a good divorce attorney ASAP. At some point, it's not about fixing him anymore. It's about protecting your kids from that environment. Sometimes leaving is the healthiest choice for everyone. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not being home when my grandparents showed up to take me to my half-brother's baby shower? I, 17 male, have a pretty messed up blended family. My dad and mom were both married before and lost their spouses before they met each other. My dad had 2 sons with his first wife. My mom had 3 kids, a daughter and 2 sons with her first husband. I'm not sure of all the timeline stuff, but they were 9 and under when my parents got married. My parents went to marriage and family counseling to help everyone blend, but they didn't. Dad's kids are dad's kids, and don't want to be mom's kids or stepkids or siblings to mom's kids. And mom's kids feel the same way. They're mom's kids and don't want to be dad's kids or siblings to dad's kids. My parents had been married for 4 years when they had me. CPS had to investigate when I was a baby because when one or some of my half-siblings were supposed to be babysitting, they left me alone. And a neighbor came to check because I was crying loudly. I think I was 7 months old or something. I wasn't removed, but my parents had to attend classes, and my half-siblings were punished and put into therapy again. I don't remember having a relationship with my half-siblings. I remember some of them living here and ignoring me when they did. And I remember the fights they had with mom and dad. Dad's kids used to call me stain when they fought with him. Mom's kids used to call me the R-word mistake in fights with her. That's really all I remember. They don't talk to us anymore. My mom had some contact with her kids for a while after they moved out, but that stopped too. I didn't think Dad had any contact once they were gone. My extended family on both sides still has contact with them. Some of my half-siblings are married and even have kids. Extended family members were invited to those events, but we weren't. My parents have been talking to my grandparents lately about finding ways to get me involved in my half-siblings' lives, or at least to make sure I'm known by their families. One of my mom's sons is expecting a baby with his wife, and a baby shower was last weekend. My parents and maternal grandparents decided I'd join my grandparents for the baby shower, so I could interact with mom's kids and their kids there. I didn't want to go, and I wasn't invited. But my parents and grandparents said I was going. Dad's parents said they'd bring me to the next party they were invited to, and we'd work things out that way. So, I was supposed to let the baby shower be the start of reintroducing me. Instead of letting this blow up in my face, because I'm pretty sure my half-siblings' anger would be mostly directed at me and not my grandparents, I left the house early Saturday morning and didn't come back until late. So, I wasn't home when my grandparents came to take me to the baby shower. When I got home, it was a total crap show. My parents were angry, and my grandparents called the house that night and told me I had wasted a chance to reconcile with my siblings. They said everyone was there, from mom's kids to the grandkids she's never even met. My parents took my stuff for a few days as punishment, and I've gotten a lot of comments like, "You shouldn't have left like that." They told me I wouldn't do it next time and that I acted like a kid instead of a young adult. They don't care about my side of things, and every time I try to explain, they just tell me they make the decisions, not me. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Sounds like you dodged more than just a baby shower. You dodged a family drama fest. Seriously though, it's pretty rough to be pushed into a situation where you're clearly uncomfortable, especially when it's with people who haven't exactly been your cheer squad in the past. It's one thing for your family to want you to reconnect, but reconciliation should be on terms that don't leave you feeling like the odd one out at a party you never wanted to attend. Maybe next time they'll consider sending an invite instead of a search party. Yep, nothing can bring that stuff out better than uninvited and unwanted guests at a party. Not the a-hole dude. This sounds like a super complicated family dynamic, and forcing a meetup at a big event like a baby shower could have been really awkward for everyone involved, especially you. It's okay to want to meet on your own terms or to avoid a potentially uncomfortable or painful situation. If your family really wants you to build relationship with your half-siblings, it should start with smaller, less intense settings, not a full-blown party where you're just thrown into the deep end. Also, props to you for setting boundaries. It's tough, especially with family, but it's crucial. It would also help if my half-siblings were on board and not being blindsided. Last story. Am I the a-hole I called my sister's lies out to her CPS agent? For some backstory, I, 32 female, have a sister, 18 female, who has an almost 2-year-old son. She got pregnant 2 months after I did. She dropped out of high school years before she got pregnant. Her baby daddy is an abusive drug addict who's going to prison soon for DV against her. She also has an open CPS case that's been ongoing for over a year now because she has no job. Took roughly 6 months just to get food stamps, after I kept nagging her constantly and had to hold her hand through the entire process, and relies on friends and family for basic necessities, like diapers, wipes, rides, and before she got food stamps, food as well. Just recently, after nearly 2 years, she finally got her son enrolled in no/low-cost childcare, thanks to CPS helping her with a referral. With family help, she's planning to enroll in school in April and get a part-time job within walking distance in the meantime. I felt like all this backstory was necessary to highlight how she's a mother, but still acts like an entitled child, relying on everyone to take care of not only her, but also her son, hence the CPS case. Anyway, I bought a new car when I got pregnant with my second child about a year ago and gave her my old car, adding her to my insurance policy to try and help her and her son. She had stolen and crashed our grandpa's car about 2 years before that, so in hindsight, I should have expected what was going to happen. She had my old car for roughly a year and ended up totaling it 2 months before it was officially paid off, and I was going to transfer the title to her name. She ran a red light and crashed into another car, never paid the fines she owed or took the required driving class afterward, so now she has a suspended license. Fixing that was supposed to be one of the things she'd work on once her son got into daycare and she got a job. It took me a while to forgive her for totaling the car and to get over the fact that she doubled my monthly insurance rates. The other day, she texted me saying she could meet me at the nursing home where our grandparents live. I usually pick her up to visit them weekly. I was like, huh? And she explained that her friend's mom was out of town and letting her borrow her car. I immediately told her this wasn't a good idea. If she got pulled over with a suspended license, no insurance, and her son in the car, she'll go to jail. The car would be impounded, and CPS would take her son. She said, well, CPS is here right now, and they said it's fine. Again, I was like, what? I know she often omits important information when she is trying to finesse people into getting her way, so I didn't want to see her screwing up her life even more. I drove to her house and talked to the CPS agent outside, telling her what my sister had said. The CPS agent confirmed that my sister had misled her about the situation with the car and clarified that she had only said it was her friend's mom's car. The agent went back inside and told her exactly what I'd been trying to warn her about. That if she got pulled over or into an accident with a suspended license, no insurance, and her son in the car, she'd go to jail, and CPS would have to take her son. The agent added this to her file. My sister said she wouldn't drive it and would have her friend come get it. Now she's mad at me for meddling in her life and talking to the CPS agent behind her back. She isn't speaking to me. I understand why she's upset, but I don't think she realizes I was trying to save her from making a huge mistake. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You did what you thought was best, considering the well-being of both your sister and her child. Your sister has a history of making poor decisions, and you knew that allowing her to drive without a valid license and insurance, especially with her son in the car, could result in serious consequences. You didn't do it out of malice, but out of concern for her and her child's safety, as well as the potential impact on her CPS case. It's understandable that she's upset, but she doesn't seem to recognize the gravity of the situation or the risks involved. While it may have been uncomfortable for her to have you intervene, your priority was looking out for her and her son. She may be angry now, but your actions were ultimately protective, and you acted with good intentions. Thank you. I know in her eyes I just peed in her Cheerios and prevented her from having an easy temporary solution for not having a vehicle. Not to mention the mom probably doesn't know her car is being driven, so if anything happens, she could end up with an unauthorized use of a motor vehicle charge. Not the a-hole. This was exactly my thought. I told her there's no way anyone would let her borrow their car, knowing she has a suspended license and no insurance. If she crashed it, they would absolutely claim she stole it to cover themselves.